Hello again. I am Tom Riley, the author of our two climate crisis books. Welcome to our third video on climate crisis stories, this one on tipping points. This series is sponsored by our two books themselves. Our climate crisis continues to be about as real as a green Arctic Ocean warming in the summer sun. No ice in sight. The crisis is not your fault alone, but it is your future. You do not have to like it, but you do have to live it. Too bad, so sad. It is much too late to stop this crisis completely, but there are many things we can do to take the edge off, to make it more survivable for oh so many people. One approach then is to tell the crisis stories now, and this is the task we have set ourselves. Sometimes when you try something, especially something really big, you need to stop for a second and think on what is the best thing that could happen, and likewise on what is the worst thing that could happen. Sometimes you'll be surprised if the good things happen rather than the bad. You need to have good solid ideas on what could happen either way and what you should do about it. So, this third video in our series is about what could happen if our Tell the Story Now idea really goes viral, if it surprises everyone and then gets completely out of hand. This video then is our crystal ball. To see our future, we first need to understand tipping points. Tipping points are dramatic points that occur naturally in complex systems. Our climate crisis has a great many of them built directly into Earth systems. The IPCC report identifies about 14, with several near their tipping points right now. Tipping points have the quality that once passed, it is nearly impossible to go back the way you came. Beyond this point, the whole system simply shifts to a new and different stable state, for good or bad. Going back would take more energy and time than you have, far more than it took to get in the situation in the first place. The loss of the Arctic's summer ice is one such tipping point. It is called the Green Ocean Event. This is one point that we have probably already crossed. The great expanse of the Arctic ice was once very white and reflected a lot of light and heat away in summer. Now, the dark open water absorbs the light and warms up. This is why the Arctic is warming up faster than the Earth's average. The Arctic summer ice is fading, and already we have no way to go back. We have no choice but to move forward into a new world. Tipping points can be social too. A recent example is the adoption of the smartphone. When Apple launched its iPhone in 2007, the smartphone suddenly became a must-have for anyone doing serious business worldwide. The effect on all of society was sudden and dramatic. Again, there was no going back. A century before, another social tipping point was crossed with the introduction of the Ford Model T in 1908. It was cheap, it was gas-powered, and the new production practices matched the skyrocketing demand. There was no going back even by 1930, despite the Great Depression. To this day, we cannot get rid of gas-guzzling cars. We have no choice but to make some version of a sustainable automobile that can be widely used and loved. Social tipping points are rare, but when they happen, all of society then must push ahead into a new world, like it or not. What do real social tipping points have to do with a few obscure climate crisis stories? There's a chance that the right stories in the right genre will become a social tipping point that gets our young people into effective action on our climate crisis problems. Yes, this is a long shot, but it needs to be seriously considered. both from a make it happen viewpoint and from a what will we do if it does viewpoint too. All in all, this prospect is seriously scary. For climate organizers, this looks like the best of all possible worlds. Suddenly, they have to deal with larger demonstrations than they ever imagined. Politicians suddenly declare that they were on the side of the angels all along, even though they find themselves talking out of both sides of their mouth. Whole industries will be running for cover and throwing money at the organizers as the suits run away. O frabjous day, Callooh Callay, he chortled in his joy. But is it our best possible world? If you are riding a tiger, you cannot get off. Once any tipping point is crossed, you must ride it into a new future. You cannot dismount, and you must not let yourself be thrown off. Ride that tiger. The problems of our climate crisis are not subject to quick fixes. We will not simply buy an electric vehicle, sort out our trash, and move on. There will be no Hollywood ending either, suddenly full of sunshine and roses. No, this is a long, drawn-out fight with many rivers to cross. Maybe crossing a purpose-built social tipping point is the best thing we can do. Some of the fights, like sea level rise and population peaking, will go on for centuries. Others will be like the cell phone and apparently poof into existence overnight. Intentionally crossing and inspire the youth social tipping point may be too hot for our small story team. It could blow up in our faces. It could stiffen the opposition against addressing our climate crisis. Forcing such a social tipping point is a major responsibility and requires forethought. We value your input in the comments and hope to use your input in future videos. Our big question today is, should we push ahead with our stories and risk crossing a social tipping point? Or should we cool it and back off? Or is this the biggest bunch of self-indulgent hooey that you have ever heard? Let us know. Our AI has already voted hooey. To help this series push forward, please like, subscribe, and comment on our videos. And of course, buy our books. We all really should give it some thought before we saddle up this tiger. Enjoy, Tom Riley.